Hello everyone, and today I wanted to give you an update on my new Fireblade. So I've had her for about a month now and just clocked over 1,000 miles on her. So I had the 600-mile oil change service, and now I'm allowed to let her off the leash a little bit. I think the first thing to say is, it surpassed my expectations, this bike. It is just awesome. Since I've let it off the leash, God, I can so feel the difference in lightness and power of this thing. Just wants to go and go and go. Just love the quick shifter and blipper. Just makes riding this bike a joy. Really is so responsive. And then link that to all the clever electronics, and it just inspires so much confidence. The electronics are a revelation on this bike. I mean, it is a game changer in comparison with the last model. It just allows you to use so much more of the power and ability of this bike. I mean, you've still got to remember that the laws of physics apply. And you just feel like there's that all-encompassing kind of safety net around you. And the redesign of the front end with a narrower fuel tank, and I said in my test ride video that this bike feels so much more narrow and lighter when you pick it up off the stand. And the benefit of that is it's very, very roomy, and it allows you to move around with so much ease on it, which again is just really inspiring for your confidence. It really is an effortless bike to ride, and ride fast. One thing that has taken me a real lot of getting used to are the brakes. These are radial Brembo monoblock calipers, and their stopping power is awesome. I mean, they haul you up from big speeds very effortlessly and really well. But they've got a very, very different feel to what I'm used to. On my old blade, and actually also on the Cross Tourer, the brakes have got quite a sharp initial bite. So a little touch of the lever and you can really feel them come on quite aggressively, and I quite like that as a feeling, and that's what I've been used to. But these are very different, so I like to brake with 2 fingers on the front brake, and this, when you give a little initial pull, it doesn't give you that initial grab on the brakes. You know that you're applying the brakes, you can feel a little bit, but it's not a lot. And when you first start off, you think, oh my god, and then as you pull a bit more and get more progressive on the brakes, that's when the stopping power really comes in. It takes a bit of getting used to, but I would imagine, on track, it allows you to trail brake and just have that real finesse over your entry speed and such like. So it's not a bad thing. It just, for me, is taking a little bit of getting used to. and unlike some bikes, the rear is actually quite good as well. The other thing that's absolutely astonished me is the fuel consumption on this. It's got a slightly smaller fuel tank than the previous model, a litre or two smaller, but I'm getting better fuel consumption, very similar range. Yeah, I'm averaging between 44 and 46 miles per gallon, which I think is pretty good. The absolute star of the show, undoubtedly on this SP model though, is this Ohlins semi-active suspension. Wow! I remember saying when I test rode this bike that I thought Honda had shot themselves a bit in the foot with the SP model costing, you know, 3 and a bit grand more than the standard model. Now if you think that the quick shifter and blipper option's about 600 quid to add on, I mean this electronic Ohlins, it's about 2.5 grand extra you pay for it, and you can so tell where the money's gone and been spent. I mean, I've ridden it pretty exclusively in the A3 setting, which is the softest automatic setting, and for normal road riding it is incredible. It just irons out the bumps and keeps the bike so composed. I was out riding earlier this morning and I hit a big pothole that I didn't see, and I know that on my other bikes I've gone into it and it would crash, you would have felt it, and yeah, I felt I'd gone through a pothole, but boy did it absorb it up. And particularly with British roads, and especially B roads and these sorts of ones which are very uneven and very bumpy, the suspension does such a great job. It just allows you to push on further because the bike's not bouncing around all over the place. And I've been riding on some roads that I know quite well, and a couple of ones where, you know, I know that on my old blade to hit a bump and it would kind of shove my arse up out the seat a little bit, and it just doesn't on this. So I'm riding with some buddies, and the guy that was sitting behind me when we stopped, he just said to me, he goes, because you just look so composed on that bike, he says, you know, you can see the suspension working hard, but you're just serene on top of it and you're not bouncing around. Thank you. And that's exactly how it feels. It also does such a great job of keeping the bike level when you get hard on the throttle, and also when you get hard on the brakes. Yeah, the front compresses nicely and squashes the front tyre, and with those brakes gives you that fantastic feeling of composure and stopping distance, but you don't get any massive dive whatsoever. So where I said I thought Honda had shot themselves a little bit in the foot, do you know what? After 1,000 miles on this thing, I can so see where that money goes. And yeah, it's a lot of money, but it really is worth it. I've heard some people complain about the quick shifter and blipper and say that they find that they get too many false neutrals. I've not found that at all, and I don't by right use the quick shifter or blipper between first and second because you are going through neutral. But when you do, as long as you give it a firm prod either down or up, it's absolutely perfect. I'll try it here. See, there we go, no worries whatsoever. It was down from second into first, and even under partial throttle. There, quick shifter from first to second. As long as you're positive with the action, I think you're fine. So I've had no issues with it whatsoever. This SP model comes as standard with either Bridgestone RS10s or Pirelli Supercorsa tyres on it. Yeah, those kind of road legal but track focused tyres. And on a day like today, where it's 20 degrees, been riding for a little bit and got some heat into them. This one's got the Bridgestone RS10s, and actually, I quite like Bridgestone tyres, but that's a debate for another time. The grip is astonishing and gives loads of feedback, and again, confidence inspiring. But this is the first bit of nicely warm weather that we've had since I've had the bike, and I've ridden in some kind of single figure centigrade temperatures, and after some reasonably aggressive riding on a cold day, still not getting really warm, and in those conditions not the most confidence of inspiring tyres. I'm not just going to use this in the hot weather in the summer and on track. I'm going to use it when I fancy it. And so one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to change these tyres out and probably put some Bridgestone S22s on. I used to have S21s on my old blade, and I really like them. Really like them. I've noticed also with this that after only 1,000 miles I can feel a little bit of squaring off on the rear tyre. These are not going to last long. But tyres are a very personal choice, very subjective, and you'll have your own favourites. Actually, that might be a video for another day. Something about tyres. I've had quite a play with the rider modes on this, and I haven't really used the preset ones. I've set up 2 user ones, one for kind of colder, damper, lower grip situations, and the one that I'm in at the moment. So this I've got the power up in 1, which is the full beans. I've got the traction on 3, so in nice weather like this, I found that the traction doesn't really kick in, but it's a nice little safety net. It allows some front wheel lift, but keeps it under control. The engine braking I played around with. One, can't remember which way around it is, but whichever way, if 1 is the max least engine braking, I found that was too little for my style of riding, and I found 3 the other end was too much. So I plumped for the setting in the middle, and that seems to work for me. And as I said, with the suspension, I've just got it in automatic 3, the softest one, and for road riding it's perfect. There is plenty of oomph whenever you open the throttle up. But certainly once you hit 8 grand plus, that's when it really goes, and you find that's when the front starts to lift under power, and that's where the electronics do such a great job of keeping everything in check. There, you can feel the front go light, and it just deals with it. And this road is really bumpy. Going over that bridge where there's a slight up and down off it, you just barely feel it. And I did expect this bike to be good. I mean, I loved my last Fireblade, and it was more bike than I could ever handle and enjoy. But this is just epic. What I really love about this bike is they haven't really lost that lovely thing that the old Blade had, which was you could wring its neck and have lots of fun when you wanted to, but then you could just dial it back and it could be very comfy, very civilized, and that's exactly what this is, but just better. So I'm taking this touring, going off to Germany in May for a week. I've also got a track day booked in for June, back up at Castle Combe. Can't wait to get it up on there. So it would be a massive understatement to say that I'm very, very pleased with my purchase. Probably babbling on like a little child. On the test ride that I had on the Honda UK bike, and then whilst I was running this in up to 600 miles, I mean, I wasn't even scratching the surface of this thing. If I was to sum this bike up in 2 words, it's confidence inspiring. Everything that Honda have done to this bike just all comes together and works so well collectively to just inspire confidence. Electronic suspension that just keeps the bike so composed over any real roads. The electronics package that, you know, when you wind it on, really keeps the front end under control, but also, you know, the lean angle traction control means that if you're a bit ham-fisted, it intervenes, but it intervenes in a very, it's not abrupt and sudden, it's just progressive. So yeah, I'm absolutely delighted with this bike, and I'm going to have so much fun on it. So that's what I've found out so far after about 1,000 miles on this bike. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed and found it helpful. As ever, do please put your comments or questions in the boxes below. In the meantime, be safe out there, keep it rubber side down, and I shall speak to you very soon. Cheers.